The Books That Shape Me is proudly sponsored by WinStar Insurance Group right out of Cedar Park, Texas. Owned and operated by Stephanie Dew, my dear friend. Early on in her career, she knew what it was like to feel undervalued. And she vowed that if she ever had an opportunity to be in leadership, she was going to do it different. And she does. She values each of her employees and her clients with the utmost integrity and respect and kindness that you'd ever imagine. So they've got a specialty in their business. They take care of first responders. They've got wineries, breweries, childcare facilities, and the employees themselves are so excited to be there. And they talk about how they haven't felt valued anywhere else like they do there. So it's hats off to Stephanie and WinStar Insurance Group because our values align with faith, trust, and authenticity. Thank you, Stephanie, from the bottom of my heart and those of us that hang out with the books that shaped me. Welcome back, everyone, to The Books That Shape Me. I'm your host, Angie Smith, and this is episode 8. Today is an exciting day. I am so excited to have Ann Grady here in this moment for this conversation. I have been a bit of an Ann Grady fangirl for quite some time. I was first introduced to Ann when you did public speaking, or you did a keynote speaking at the Task event, which of course is our annual event for state and local government, the leaders that get to come together, work with the vendors, collaborate, communicate, really grow some relationships. But when Ann stood on that stage and shared your story, your personal story that of course we're going to want to hear what you're willing to share today, but how you were able to learn and grow and apply the tools that you yourself use to navigate, and then of course put them in some accessible books, including a workbook that folks like us at home were able to take with us and apply. And a little bit, I don't know if I shared this with you yet, Ann, but there was one Christmas that we did homemade gifts, and I borrowed some of your techniques from that workbook. I've got my daughter, I've got 2 bonus daughters and a son-in-law. And so I made books for them, and it included some tips for navigating challenges that you shared with the world. Just because they're so powerful tools, applicable tools that whether you're a young person coming up in the world, a seasoned person, they're tools for humanity. So that's the beginning of my fangirl life with Miss Ann. Secondarily, my daughter, Aubrey, is friends with her stepdaughter, Riley.
Yes, my bonus daughter.
Oh my gosh. And whenever my daughter was like, oh yeah, my friend Riley's stepmom does that too. Her name is Ann Grady. I said, Ann Grady, what? I have her books. So forgive my, I don't want to hit this microphone again, but it's getting real up in here. So with that, Miss Ann, welcome to the conversation. I'm so happy to have you here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. So with that, the name of our conversation here, The Books That Shape Me, you have written your own books, but I really just want to give you an opportunity to share with me and our listeners about your story, about how you got to be who you are in this moment right now, whatever you're willing to share, whether it's your life formative moments, the books, or wherever you'd like to take us.
Oh, well, I mean, I could take you back to 1975 in New Jersey, but I'll skip all of that.
A little fast forward action.
So, I've always been very goal oriented, and I had a timeline laid out for my life. I was going to get my master's degree, get a job, get married at 26, have my first child at 28, my second child at 32, build a career. Like I had it all lined out, and I was making progress. I got my master's degree. I got my first job. I got married, when I was 26, and I had my son, Evan, 2 days after my 28th birthday. And I thought, like, I am nailing adulting.
Track. Yeah.
I'm like, I got this. People talk about life being hard. I'm adulting. I'm succeeding. But as soon as I got pregnant, I knew something wasn't right. Like when I had a really tough pregnancy, I was on bed rest. I was in a lot of pain. And when Evan was born, it was obvious something wasn't right. He was just incredibly cranky and irritable and inconsolable. And when he was about 11 months old, I started him in early childhood intervention therapy. When he was 18 months old, his dad left. So I was now like a single mom with a relatively new consulting career, because right before I found out I was pregnant, I decided to join this gentleman named John Stigliano, and we just consulted. But basically, I was like in charge of my own paycheck.
Yeah.
If I didn't work or sell, I wasn't going to get paid. So Evan was born, and it was obvious something was wrong, and I couldn't get a diagnosis or any answers, and he just kept escalating. And when he was 4 years old, he was put on his first antipsychotic. I was told when he was 2, it was a matter of when, not if, he was going to need to be put in a psychiatric hospital. And so it was a very long road. It wasn't until he was 7, when he was first in a psychiatric hospital, that we started to get a clearer picture of what was going on. But truly, it wasn't until he was 17 or 18 that we fully understood his disability, which is autism and mental illness and learning disabilities and developmental delays. And we didn't realize how impaired he was. And so for a lot of the time, we thought his extreme behaviors and his aggression and his defiance was intentional. And in reality, it was an incapacity to process information and make sense of things. And it was just his frustration and inability to regulate that. And I had always wanted to be a trainer and a speaker. It's something I've wanted to do since I was very little. And so my first, consulting was really just training and professional development. And when Evan was younger, I kept sharing about him in hopes that somebody in my sessions and my classes could tell me what was wrong, because the doctors kept giving us everything from strep to a viral infection to, it was just endless. And so I just started talking about our situation because I was desperate for help.
Yeah.
And people kept coming up to me and they would whisper like, my sister has bipolar disorder, or my husband is on the spectrum. And I would say, why are you whispering?
Yeah.
And it was like this huge shame and stigma around some mental illnesses, some just being neuroatypical. And so that was when I decided, like, somebody has to talk about this. And I had been through hell and back trying to figure out how to survive. And so I combined my background in speaking and training, but I started studying how you can build resilience and navigate really tough situations and not just survive them, but find a way to enjoy your life in the process. And so that's kind of my story. And Evan is now 23 and he lives in Idaho because he's in a group home with 2 other young men and full-time staff. But we've been on a list in Texas to get services like that for, 17, 18, 19 years. Like it's been almost 2 decades. And he's still 30,000th plus on the list. Texas is the least mental health benefits of any state in the country. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate that he has to live 2,000 miles away, but he's stable and he's happy. And I talked to him yesterday and told him I was doing this podcast. She said, make sure you talk about me.
Wow. What is life like for Evan in his group home?
So it used to be lots of physical aggression and defiance. And as he's gotten older, it's just more of a struggle to get him to engage in life. So he prefers to be alone. He likes to be in his room. He, likes to watch videos, and he'll tell you he's got PhDs in karate because he's watched YouTube videos. And so he spends a lot of time alone, but he does like fishing and and he comes home often and we go there. And so yeah, he's at peace. He's happy. He's content. He feels in control, I think, for the first time in a long time. So I think it's not the life I would have, you think you have this idea in your mind of what your child's life is going to be like and the milestones. And then you see your friends and they have kids your kid's age and they're celebrating those milestones. And so it's been a journey, but he's come to a place of contentment and acceptance that I can, is fleeting sometimes for me, but it's a journey.
Yeah.
Right.
I find it so interesting. You, from the beginning of your story, you were just desperate, grasping. Can I have some answers? Can I have some hope? Can I have the name of what's going on? And once you finally started piecing together the different names, then it's like, okay, you were able to take it in stride a little bit more. You were able to categorize it in your brain, maybe find more resources. Is all that kind of
Well, your brain
accurate?
searches for understanding. Uncertainty to the brain is really neurologically threatening. And so when you don't know what you're dealing with, the goal isn't to give it a label. The goal is to understand the problem so that you can work on finding a solution. And the hard part with Evan was that part of it was neurological, part of it is genetic, part of it is, I had an emergency C-section and he went without oxygen. And, so there's so many different parts of it. It was like grasping at straws to try to get a clear sense of what we were dealing with so that we knew the best approach to address it. But what we didn't know at the time is that we were dealing with this neurological perfect storm.
Wow.
And so it was just really hard. But yes, once you are able to say, okay, this is autism, or this is a mental illness, or this is, a neurological deficit, then you know how to treat it. And it turned out for Evan, he's been in therapy literally since he was 11 months old.
Yeah.
And as a byproduct of that, so have I.
Yeah.
So for the better part of 20 years, we've been learning and taking parenting classes and understanding how to manage our behavior, because you can't regulate someone else when you're dysregulated.
Yes.
And it's just been this incredible journey that I never would have asked for. And while I was in the throes of it with him, wanted desperately to not be in.
Yeah.
And now looking back with perspective, it created this ability for me to have a totally different life than I would have had. And it's been the greatest blessing that I could have asked for.
Wow. And again, you started out with a very streamlined approach of success for yourself.
And
you had the
nothing
data
of it.
points.
And everything went south after 28.
So many of us want to think that life is that, upward straight line trajectory to the right.
No.
And really it's like this.
Well, and Riley and I joke, my daughter Riley and I joke, because she at one point said, I can't wait. And this was when she was in high school, but she said, I can't wait till I'm 30 when everything gets easier. And I laughed out loud. And I'm like, if only that were true. But yeah, life, I think we expect to be happy. And happiness is a 11 or $12 billion culture in the US alone. And happiness feels great. Everybody wants to be happy. But we've almost learned that there's something wrong with us if we don't feel like that all the time. And just like any other emotion, happiness is fleeting. It happens in these micro moments. Yeah. And so if you're waiting for life to calm down, or the next project to be over, or the next milestone to happen, or I hear people saying, I've only got 10 more years till retirement. It's like, okay, but then there will be caring for your aging parents, and your kids might struggle. And then there will always be something next. If you cannot find a way to make peace with where you are, you will not find it where you are going.
Right. To put the happiness is out there, and if, then, and time and chase, that's the exact opposite.
Right. Instead, when you have those beautiful moments, like this conversation, or a great sip of coffee, or you're reading a wonderful book, or you have a belly laugh, those are the moments you savor. You step outside of them and you really internalize it. And it's so cool, because the research shows when you soak in that good feeling for 15 to 20 seconds, you physically change the structure of your brain. Like our brain defaults to being a protection mechanism. So to do that, it's always looking for what's wrong. Yeah. What's right doesn't register because you don't need it to survive. So we're really good at finding what's wrong. The problem is you find what you look for. And so when you're actively thinking about how hard things are, and the state of the world, and angry people, and divisiveness, without realizing it, that's the content you watch longer, which pulls more of it into your feed. Yeah. And your brain has an algorithm, just like social media. So when you start looking at that and thinking about that and watching the news and stewing in that, you search for all the evidence to support it, and you find it. But you can train your brain to also not disregard that, because it's real. You're not, toxically positive, but you can also actively search for things that are right. And when you do that, you train your brain to magnify those, and it really shifts your outlook, your perspective, but also your physical health, your heart, your lungs, your immune function, your blood pressure, your likelihood to get cancer and other diseases drops significantly. So it's not just a feel-good exercise, it's like a biology shift.
Wow. I feel like I just need to take a second to digest all that, because that was legit. You take a swig of that lovely cup of coffee there. As you were just, kind of articulating all the components of this amazing human body that we live in, I was reminded of when we rolled into this year, 2026, Teresa Pora, our founder with Unbreakable Life, said the word of the year was alignment.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy. That was my word for the year. That's crazy.
I need to take another moment.
That was my word for the year.
It is a powerful, beautiful word. When she shared it, I was still working in my tech job before, and I said, oh yes, I like that word. I'm all about that word. But then I got let go from that job, and I had to sit there and process and deal. And I looked at her, and she just said, you weren't in alignment. And nothing about the company or the job in any way. It just wasn't alignment for me. And as such, I wasn't able to be successful in that space. But now I've been able to pivot. In the past 2 months, I've been living this life, pursuing the heart passions that I have. And I'm like, is this what it's like to live in alignment? It is awesome.
Yes.
And so this is me and my 2-month experience, loving it and living every moment here. But when you just talked about the body and the alignment, when our head and our heart are aligned with the best way to navigate life, it all flows throughout every level.
And this is how crazy this is. So we had to take Evan to Idaho when he was 15, and it was gut-wrenching, and it was awful, and it was the worst thing I've ever had to do in my life. I felt like a failure as a mom. I felt ashamed. I felt sad for him. It was just horrible. I can't even describe it. And I had to go to Europe to do a speaking tour, or not a tour, an event for a client, a corporate client. And so I was gone for 7 days shortly after we dropped him off, and I was just in shock. And when I came home, my husband, Jay, I got remarried when Evan was 7 years old. And my husband, Jay, had fallen off a ladder, breaking his arm, ribs, and hip. And when we went to the ER, the doctor said, have you experienced anything difficult emotionally lately? And he said, yeah, we just dropped our son off in Idaho and left him there. Yeah. And he said the 2 most common accidents they see are motorcycle and ladder falls. And Jay has had both motorcycle accident and a ladder fall. But they also said that most often it comes after an emotionally triggering event because your body is literally out of balance.
Wow.
So when you feel off, it's not just intuition, it's also biological.
Wow. I feel like we dismiss it. That phrase, I feel off. Well, let me figure it out. Let me just take an Advil
or power through.
Right. Drink some coffee. And that's not alcohol.
What resilience is.
Right?
You don't power through. You have to rest.
I heard an analogy one time. It's like if there is a steamboat going forward and it's, programmed to go north, and you white knuckle it, to go east. It'll go east for a little bit. But then you're going to get tired. Your little white knuckles, you're going to get tired, and you're going to let go, and it's going to go right back to north.
Right.
So it's the exact it's what you're articulating, right? It's not a short term, let me hold this out, but it's let's really deal with it. Let's reprogram.
And one of the ways that I found to do this was kind of nothing I would have anticipated. Life is just a series of like problems to solve and decisions to make. And so it's easy to get stuck, paralysis of analysis and overwhelm. And like we made that decision. We faced that when we had to send Evan to Idaho. It was like this impossible decision. And so speaking of alignment, one of the things that you can do, and this works individually as a couple, as a team, as a family, is decide which values you want to guide your behavior, and then ask yourself which choice reflects it in the moment. So for example, when we were trying to decide what do we do to send Evan away, because it wasn't just send Evan to Idaho and hope he gets better. It was, spend your life savings, have your child live 2,000 miles away. It was a horrible, hard decision. And we made a list of pros and cons, and we went back and forth, and it kept us up at night, and it was just paralyzing. And then we stopped and we're like, okay, what value do we want to guide this decision? And it was family, not just Evan, but our marriage, Riley, our entire family unit. I had already gotten sick. I was diagnosed with a tumor in my salivary gland in 2014 that resulted in facial paralysis. My husband was having like health issues. Riley was struggling with anxiety and depression. It was just not healthy. And so in the end, when we said, all right, what's the most important value? It's family. Okay, which choice reflects it? So it doesn't make hard choices easy, but it made it crystal clear. Wow. And so it becomes your filter for your life. Like, what value do I want to guide my behavior, or how we treat each other, or how we make decisions, or email response times, or fill in the blank? What value do we want to guide how we treat our customers or our employees, whatever it is? Yeah. Okay, what choice reflects it? Yeah. It makes it real easy because it makes it objective.
I love that. It's so powerful. I recently learned about a new book called Anchored, Aligned, Accountable. Ooh. And it's written by Aiko Bethia. I had an opportunity to be there when she did book signing at Book People in Austin a couple of weeks back. It was super cool. Brene Brown was there, and it was really awesome. Also a fangirl of Brene.
Isn't everybody?
Isn't everybody? I know. But so what the point that you just beautifully articulated exactly is the foundation of the anchored component. And she says, if we make our decisions, like you said, from the values that we live by, then that helps help us make our decisions. And then we live aligned, and then we are accountable. Did I live in a, accountability with myself, with you, my marriage partner, my friend, my business partner? So I'm just kind of mind blown right now in the alignment of the concepts that just keep kind of coming up, because it's truth. It's truth.
Well, and I guess the way I came to alignment this year as my word, and I don't always have a word for the year. I stopped setting resolutions because 90+% of them fail. But a friend of mine, Kevin, who actually just wrote a book called Prayerful, Thankful, Grateful. You should check that one out.
I should.
He said, what's your word? What word do you want to guide you? And I have chased achievement my entire life, from my grades to competing on the debate team and in speaking events, to being competitive in grad school. It's just, to the speaking gigs, to the to the awards and the accolades and the applause. And it's something I chased. And for the first time in my life, it's not what I'm aiming for. I'm aiming for alignment with peace and calm, and like those things at this point in my career are not the goal anymore.
Yes.
And it's the first time in my life I've been able to say that at 51 years old. And it's a great place to be in it. And, we try to teach our kids the mistakes that we've made to help them avoid them, which unfortunately doesn't usually work. But I want Riley, my daughter, to know, like, yes, career is important, but your resume and your eulogy shouldn't be the same thing.
Ooh.
Right? Like, people are not going to stand over your graveside or talk at your funeral about how many hours a week you worked or what impact, your role in the company was. It's the impact you have on people.
Yeah.
And the legacy you leave and how you want people to remember you.
Yes.
And I don't care if people remember the applause. What I want them to remember is I was a good human, and I lived through integrity and treated people well and admit when I'm wrong. And right. It's just a good life.
I love it. I love that we get an opportunity to come into this world, breathe, figure out how to walk, figure out what my skill sets are, figure out how to get paid for those skill sets, figure it out. You think you're doing well. Like you said, you get a plan, you get an idea, you chase that trajectory because I want to be successful and be successful for my family, my company. And then you get about this midway point in life and you're like, but wait, all that chasing accomplishment, accolades, there's still this, part of me that's not satisfied by those medals and applause and whatnot. And so just spend the second half of our life kind of unlearning the definition of success.
So my mom was a court reporter for 30+ years, very successful, owned her own court reporting agency, like just knocking it out of the park. And at 51, my age right now, she became a flight attendant. I'm not supposed to tell you which airline, so we'll just call it Southwest.
Okay.
But she's 77 in June this month. She'll be 77 next week, actually. And she's still a flight attendant. And it was just a great lesson in the fact that we're always able to change and evolve and grow, and our mind is the only thing that creates the limitations.
Oh gosh.
Well, I was like, what are you doing?
I was gifted this book.
Oh,
Evolvability. I feel like this is a perfect moment for you to share a little bit about evolvability.
well, so my work for the last decade has been around resilience or 2 decades, I guess. But resilience is survival. It's not enjoyment or growth.
Mm.
And so the next step in that is the intersection of adaptability and resilience and growth. And so evolvability in biology is just an organism's ability to adapt over time in
Mhm.
response to pressure.
Okay.
That's it. And right now that pressure is coming in the form of change and uncertainty.
Mhm.
So the beauty is we can build skills to
Mm.
navigate it. And like I said earlier, uncertainty and change are neurologically threatening. Like we crave familiarity above all else. It's why we stay in bad relationships or outdated routines or jobs that no longer serve us, because your brain would rather be predictably unhappy
Mhm.
than risk being unpredictably better.
So true. So
Right.
true.
And so because your brain craves comfort, not chaos, we resist change.
Yeah.
And in order to become the best version of you, you've got to find a way to stop fighting reality and start operating within it.
Yeah.
And so this book is just all of the lessons that I have learned in how to adapt. And I don't always get them all right. Like
Mm-mm.
this is a practice. So evolve is an acronym, and each of the letters stand for a different pillar. And those become the 6 skills that I think can really help you not only build resilience, but grow forward.
Man, I just want to digest it all. For those that are just listening, I actually am holding in my hand this book titled Evolvability that Miss Ann gave me upon us saying hello this morning. So that's kind of what I had asked her. I put her on the spot and she just kind of explained and unpacked. So go out and get the book because I cannot wait to dive in. You are a wealth of knowledge and experience and wisdom. And I very much appreciate you taking the time again to be here today, but also to pour your heart out into these books for, those of us who are like, man, this is hard. I was inspired at that conference, but I want more, right? And how do I personalize it and get some application tools for myself? So thank you for
Oh,
doing that work.
well, I had to go through it to be able to learn it. And I'd rather not everybody have to recreate the wheel if they don't need to. So that's what we're here for, right? To help each other.
That's right. I like to sing, we're all in this together. Shout out High School Musical. Because life is hard. And I remember for me when I went through, the darkest time after the divorce and I was just trying to figure out who I am. And it was like a year of grief. I similarly felt like, I've had a lot of should energy on myself. I should get over this. I should, put on the brave face. And, you do have to work and do those things and show up and take care of your kiddo and whatnot. But I read Kristen Neff's book on self-compassion. And for some reason, like you just said earlier in the conversation, we all want to be happy all the time. And that's just not reality. When she wrote that basically we all as humans experience sadness, aloneness, depression, I don't know if it was just exact words I needed in that moment, but it like released something in me that said, it's okay that I'm not okay. And I needed, I don't know, some permission or something to let down that guard and expectation that I had for myself.
Yeah, because think about it. When you're down, people are well-intentioned, but they're like, come on, turn that frown upside down. Look at the silver lining. I just want to throat punch them. Because then not only do you feel crappy, but now you feel shame.
Yeah,
Like
on top of it.
I should feel grateful. I do have lots to be grateful for. What is wrong with me? There's nothing wrong with you.
Nothing
Like
wrong.
these are all normal emotions. And Kristen Neff's research around giving yourself grace and treating yourself with empathy, right? We speak to ourselves in a way we would never speak to someone we love. Like I would never talk to my children the way I talk to myself. And so it's been learning to change those habits. And I still find myself defaulting, right? I call it your shitty committee. Well, actually, Riley's therapist called it your shitty committee, and I stole it because
I like that. I'm gonna take it.
But it's like naming that voice helps you separate yourself from it. It creates some distance. So mine is Helga. And when Helga is being mean to me, I'm just like, okay, Helga, enough. Like, you're not being helpful.
Yeah.
And it doesn't always stop the thoughts, but it does make you aware that you're having them so that you can then choose whether you want to keep going. Right. You can't eliminate the self criticism altogether, but you can train your brain to catch it and then decide if it's serving you.
Exactly. And am I going to keep ruminating on it? Right. Because what we do with the thought when it comes to us.
And what you repeat, you reinforce. And the more often you think a certain way. So we literally listen to ourselves and believe it.
Yeah.
We take what we say and believe that our feelings and thoughts are facts. But not every thought deserves a microphone.
Amen.
Right. Sometimes it's like junk mail, right? You don't like pour through your junk mail and go, ooh, a credit card, application and ooh, a coupon. You don't go through every single piece of it because you didn't request it. You don't have to open it.
Yeah.
Our thoughts are the same way. Yeah. We're our own worst enemy. Yeah. And I recently learned that not everybody has that self-talk, those thoughts. And I thought, oh, that must feel so nice. What would that be like to not have that?
I feel like I recently learned that too. Do you happen to remember like the percentage of folks that don't?
No,
it's a smaller percentage.
It's a smaller percentage, but I had someone ask me that at a keynote one time when we were doing Q&A. They said, you talk about these thoughts that we say to ourselves. I don't have those. And I thought, I cannot imagine how much more peaceful I would feel if I didn't have those.
I to your point of just learning about it and myself just learning about it, it is a quandary to imagine what must that be like, especially if it's a smaller percentage. Like, wow.
I would have to think that there's some challenge with self-awareness.
I think that's what I'm trying to stretch to.
But I really don't know.
We don't know. Maybe somebody will raise their hand and come talk to us.
That's right.
But I think that the ability, like you said, to be aware of our thoughts, right? Our feelings are not facts. Every thought that I believe is not necessarily a truth. Can I just be aware to witness? And that's the practice of mindfulness, right? So for us to be able to be aware that these thoughts can come like a little twig and go right down on that river. I do not have to pick it up and hold it and make it part of my identity.
Right. And, for years, people told me to practice mindfulness, and I dug my heels in because I'm type A, achievement oriented, go, 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 go. And being alone with my thoughts sounded scary. But what I learned is that, to your point, it's just recognizing what's happening. It's recognizing, oh, my heart's racing, or my stomach feels tight, or I'm having this thought. Do I want to keep it going? It's just observing what's happening without becoming trapped in it. And it's a powerful, powerful practice.
It is. And it's so weird. Like, it's not natural to us. We have to be taught like this is a thing. Because you grow up, like we talked about earlier, I'm a kid. I'm learning how to use these legs, swing this bat, function in life, interact with peers and peeps. And then like, oh, wait a minute. I have a choice of, do I say that word? I don't have to say that word that came to my brain.
Yeah, I don't have that filter still.
We're working on things. We're working on it.
Well, and one of the things, when you talk about babies, right? Like a baby doesn't fall down and go, screw it, walking's not for me. Right? Like they have to fail and try and push and learn and get uncomfortable. And by the time we become adults, we don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
We finally settle into habits and routines. And those are great until that coziness becomes a cage.
Yeah.
And then we no longer stretch and grow and change the way we think and behave because we just become so, part of it's an addiction to the chemicals that we process. Every time you complain to yourself, you get a burst of neurochemicals, that adrenaline, right? And so what happens is you don't realize it, but you crave it. And so we settle into these habits because we become addicts to the chemicals that our thoughts create.
Oh.
And it's just like any addiction. Until you're aware of it, you can't change it. So, it's this desire to keep stretching and growing and being uncomfortable, and then being comfortable for a while and being okay with that. Yes. And then forcing yourself to grow more. And it's just this lifelong pursuit of what fulfills you, what brings you joy, what brings you peace,
right?
And how you can serve others, because that's where, I was diagnosed with clinical depression at the age of 19. And so I know the irony of a depressed motivational speaker is not lost on me. But one of the things that helps you improve your mood is helping somebody else.
Mhm.
And so it's like, okay, when you feel crappy, you don't have to feel happy. Just find a way to help somebody else not feel crappy.
Wow.
And it changes your body chemistry. It changes your mindset.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is so powerful. Well, Anne, you have dropped a lot of goodness, and I think the most neuropsychology that we've had on this podcast yet. So you win for that one. But thank you for the conversation. Thank you for the insights. Thank you for the time that you spent with us today.
Oh my gosh, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I had a really great time talking with you.
Thank you. Is there anything else that you're working on? We've already kind of talked a little bit about the book that's about to come out. Is it out? Is it live?
Yes, evolvability.com. If you go there, you can take a free adaptability self-assessment
Oh,
and
nice.
kind of gauge your current level of resistance to change. But yes, it's available on Amazon and wherever books are sold. Yeah, what am I working on now? I am working on enjoying a pause from the craziness of writing a book and a keynote and all the training sessions that go with it. And so yeah, I've got a full speaking schedule coming up and lots of travel and
Woo-hoo.
lots of cool clients I get to go work with. But the last couple of weeks, I've just been taking a couple deep breaths and it's been very nice.
I love that. I love that. And if folks want to connect with you, the best way to get in touch?
AnneGradyGroup.com. Yeah,
Okay.
reach out to me. It's just Anne, ANNE at AnneGradyGroup.com. Shoot me an email, connect on LinkedIn, and on all of my social channels, it's just at Anne Grady Group, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all of them.
Well, everybody go and check her out. She's got such wisdom, and we're going to grow and learn together. So thank you again, Anne.
All right. Thank you.
You guys have a great day. We'll talk with you soon.